All right, welcome back, everybody. I brought somebody into the studio. His name is Randy Hill. So do you coach combat sports and shooting? Do you also do that? Or is it strength coach? Like, what are your services? How, if someone's looking at your profile, I see a lot of different things. What are your services? What do you offer?
It's fitness, man. It's strength, conditioning, body composition, those sorts of things. You know, I'll talk to my clients about firearms and stuff like that, but I don't consider myself a firearms instructor.
Okay. Yeah. I always ask because people are looking for that. And the only place you can really get it is at a range with someone's perspective on what they think is right or wrong. And then you have different people that are trying to maybe advocate for their platforms. I know there's a lot of people that have Glock specific training. I know some Glocksmiths, you know, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. I like Glock. I carried a Glock. It was a very reliable platform. Also carried a Beretta, not a reliable platform, you know, but I carried one, and I don't care as long as I can shoot it and it works. I'm good. But I would train on anything if I could train. All right. What does becoming a human weapon mean to you?
So my definition of a human weapon, which is kind of like my trademark phrase of what I go for with my fitness clients, is lift like someone twice your size, move like someone half your size, and build a command presence with your physique.
Now, a command presence, what does that entail? What does that look like?
So when I'm thinking about what I mean by command presence, there's a couple different thoughts here. So part of it is like what it sounds like, that sort of like being a deterrent to threats and those sorts of things. That's huge, right? For law enforcement or just for anybody, if you want to protect your family, the best fight is the one that you haven't gotten in, right? The other thing to think about is the way that you look plays such a massive role in the outcome of your life. Because every time that somebody gets a first impression of you, subconsciously, they're already making a decision of where you land on sort of the social hierarchy.
Yeah.
And if you look like someone who takes themselves seriously, who's, you know, big and jacked and strong, people are more likely to trust you and defer to you, and your social interactions will go different ways. And I know that I have gotten business partnerships, relationships, you know, romantic, but also friendships, all sorts of opportunities because of the way that I look. Like, things just go better when you look like a real person a real man that takes himself seriously. And it doesn't matter if, let's say the guy that I'm talking to is a multi-gazillionaire Fortune 500 guy, and he meets somebody who's like a big, jack, strong dude. There is an unconscious, like, law of the jungle level of respect that guy's going to have for the guy who looks presentable, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in the military. You see somebody with a sloppy uniform, and before you even know anything about them, you already assume that they don't do good work, right? So it plays a huge, huge role.
Yeah.
And also in the way you feel about yourself, and you carry that throughout the rest of your day.
Yeah, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's definitely a thing. All right. So tattoos then. What do you think about tattoos? Can you judge somebody by a tattoo?
I don't know, man. I don't think you can judge them by a tattoo because, you know, people have seasons in their life. I'll tell you, this is my opinion of tattoos. This might be kind of controversial. If I could go back to when I first got a tattoo, I probably would never get a tattoo.
Why?
Because I believe that my body was created by God, right? And inking it up permanently is almost like, I don't know if defiling is the right word. It might be a little strong, but right, you're like vandalizing something. And it's also probably from a health perspective not excellent to have like ink and metals and things permanently embedded in your skin. I don't know. But it's a cultural thing, I think, right?
For sure.
But I went through a tattoo phase, dude, like a lot of guys did in their 20s.
Yeah.
I don't regret any of them for sure, but I won't encourage my kids to get tattoos.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't get tattoos until way later in my life because I wanted the tattoos to mean something. So whenever I put my retirement papers in, then I took the career that I had accomplished and put it on my back. So my whole back is done up. And it's everything that has to do with my career because it's behind me.
Nice.
So it's still visible it peeks through the shirts and everything. But one of the things that recently happened to me through MMA was I got ringworm, and I don't live too far from the gym. So somebody's got ringworm there or had ringworm there like last year, and I got ringworm. Came home, took a shower, started scratching. What the heck is this? And the guys were like, "Hey, if you had tattoos, you wouldn't have ringworm there." And I'm like, "Huh." And you know what? In all honesty, I know everyone who's got like sleeves. They've never gotten ringworm on
Really?
their tattoos. So like now I'm like, maybe I should get sleeves so I can continue doing MMA.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, because I mean, as I get older, I'm not going to be able to do as much as I'm doing now. And, I'm broken right now as it is. So I might as well just get a couple tattoos and enjoy my life a little bit.
Yeah, they're cool, man. I mean, it's a personal choice,
Yeah.
Some might have meaning, some of them don't.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are getting tattoos because it's very much in culture right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is going to be taboo. This is weird. I see a lot more women getting tattoos than men now. Mm-hmm. So I see the women trying to claim they're masculine, maybe. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I see women getting tattoos, women working out. And then, I don't know if you want to blame Hollywood, but I think Hollywood has a lot to do with it. They're like, women power. And
yeah.
Let's go back to the conversation we had earlier. If you're stronger, you can have the technique of, Bruce Lee. And you can hit me fast with your girl punch, but it's not going to hurt as much as a dude who is going to hit me, no matter how many tattoos you have or how strong you think you are. So I'm not sure where that's at, but all right, you got any thoughts on that? Women and tattoos?
Yeah, man. I don't know if you wanted that stuff on the YouTube channel. I have some pretty strong opinions about gender roles and the way things are going. So
the last Marine I had on, and this is for men. The predominance of this audience is 25 to 39-year-old men. So I had the first female on my show. I've only had one girl on my show, and she is the headliner to an action film that's coming out in a couple months called Body Man. She was a Marine. She's like, I'm barely a woman. But she's like, I have strong feelings about gender roles. I think women should be women and men should be men. And that clip actually did really well because I think a lot of people want that. It's just not how it goes because society has become what it's become.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when women aren't fulfilling their role and men aren't fulfilling their role, we have a dysfunction in the family, which then creates a dysfunction broadly in the society. And this is actually one of the things that drove me to the Christian faith was I recognized these issues in our culture, in our society. And then I started looking into Christianity because I didn't grow up with any mention of religion at all.
Really?
None. I was not really, I wouldn't say an atheist. I just didn't really have an opinion.
Did you grow up in Arizona?
Grew up in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I started reading scripture, I was like, man, this is like the antidote to all these problems. Like if we just lived in accordance with the way that this is telling us to live, a lot of these problems that we have would go away. The problem is that people have been, sort of propagandized into being the way that they are. I don't think that a lot of the stuff has been organic. I don't think that the feminist movement is organic. I don't think a lot of the stuff in Hollywood and the way that men are told to be is organic. I think it is a concerted effort, in my opinion.
Do you think it's from a group of people? Or do you think it's from society in general?
No, I do think that I do think it is an intentional subversion.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You've practiced that.
It's things that I've been banned for before. So, yeah.
So what I've noticed is there's a lot of things, man. So let's go into that a little bit. The screens that people look at, they look like witches casting screens, like. And then what do? You get broadcasted, through channels like channeling spells. The little wavering stick that's used by wizards and warlocks is from the holly tree, Hollywood. There's a lot of correlations to entertainment and what people get fed in their feed.
Yep.
That makes them believe the things that they believe. So
yeah,
I think broadcasting channels have an agenda. I think that groups of people that own those channels have a product or service or a way of life that they would like to sell. And I think there's a whole lot more than people are willing to recognize. And I'm not conspiracy theory anything here. These are all things that you can look at the world and see for yourself. So just because the words correlate with whatever we're talking about doesn't mean that that is exactly how it is, but it's probably pretty damn close. And I want to get more into like when you started reading the Bible. When did you start reading the Bible?
About 2018.
2018?
Yeah. And a lot of it was the Hollywood stuff too that I recognized.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand this, but when you're talking about like casting spells, Hollywood, all that kind of stuff, when you watch a film, subconsciously, and this has been proven, you naturally associate with the protagonist, especially if that film is directed towards you. So if you're like a young white man in the United States, and the main character of the film is a young white man and he's the hero, you will sort of subconsciously identify with that. And the experiences that character has throughout the film, on some kind of primal level, you sort of ingrain those experiences as if you experienced them. So now the director of the film has the opportunity to make you think that you've experienced certain things, which then changes your outlook on society in general. Yeah. And then obviously your habits and your opinions and those sorts of things. And so I do think it is a conspiracy in that sense. I think that it is intentional because it's not, why would it be organic?
Yeah. You know, the best thing is you can control what comes in your eyes. You can control what comes in your ears. And once it comes in, it doesn't come out easily. So that's the thing that I want to get more awareness on. So one of the things that I always preach is, you know, you become who you hang out with. And why is it? You're living a movie, dude. So if you let people in your direct area and around you, those people are influencing you, just like you described as you're watching a movie. Except for it's all the time and it's real life, so it hits different. The problem with society that I see now is that people are always in their phones, and the next thing that's fed to them is not something that they can control. It goes off of an algorithm, and it's a suggestion by somebody who could be pulling the strings. And in YouTube's case, they make recommendations. This is what we think you'll like. And I know for a fact that my broadcasting, my channel, my YouTube channel broadcasts to men because I want it to. And I, in this YouTube channel, am trying to help people by bringing in people like you that will actually give people the ability to think about things that are in their lives in a different way. I'm not trying to entertain anybody. I'm bringing real truth from real champions. So if I can do that, I don't think it's ever going to outweigh, because these people have billions of views and I have millions. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how the little sliver it works. But the reason why I asked about the Bible is, Leviticus talks about tattoos, right? It's like the 10 Commandments is Leviticus, right? It's like, these are the 10 Commandments, and have hair on the side of your face, which is, that means God wants you to have a beard. And
Old Testament stuff.
Yeah, it's all Old Testament stuff. And then it says you shouldn't mark ink on there, but it's all talking about the things that were going on in that part of life. And back then that was movies, like the books were movies.
Sure. So
I see social media as that new way of doing things. And that's why I want to make sure that the audience gets more of you through your social medias, especially if you're going to start up your YouTube channel again and go after that. I want to definitely push people over there so that they can check that out and get more of you.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I just went off on a little rant there.
No, I'm good, man. I like that concept, right? Because it's an information war. One of the things that people talk about all the time is like, hey, things are going so bad in society and everybody's just talking about it. And I've even made political commentary and people are like, well, what are you doing about it? It's an information war. You can't have anything physically change until you get everybody sort of on the same page of what the problem is and what the solution is. So all this stuff came out, like the Epstein files and this and that. And it's like, why isn't anyone doing anything? If you're just one man and you're like this lone wolf and you're going to go, take down the big brother bad guy, you're just going to get made an example of and you're going to die and your movement's going to go in nowhere. What has to happen first is a lot of minds have to get changed, probably more than 50% of the nation, for any kind of like actual thing to happen in the real world.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's bad at all to, put yourself out there and give opinions, because you are changing minds, getting people to see your way of things. That's just how the world works.
Well, I'm not holding any punches. I think men should be men. I think men should be trained. I think they should be healthy. I think that they should be knowledgeable. They should always try to improve themselves every day. And what all I'm doing, and all I've done for the last year is I've taken real life champions, world record breakers, celebrities that have made it, mixed martial artists, pro athletes, and I've shown people that everyone's life's a mess. It's a mess, man. And then there are ways to improve it. Your way is going to be different than everyone that I bring out there, but that little sliver of information that you got from a champion that you would not be able to meet is now delivered for free to your device so that you can get whatever God has in plan for you. Because I am a firm believer that faith is a big cornerstone to who a man is. And that if you ever want to be tested, if you're ever tested and you don't have faith, you will fail. So all of that said, that's all I'm doing here. But I've interviewed every religion here, man. I've interviewed Church of Satan people. I've interviewed Mormon people. I've interviewed, name it. The only one I haven't gotten is Buddhist. I'll find one of those one day. But they all have the same thing. They're all men. They all have a faith base. Whatever that faith is, it's different. They all believe they're doing good. All of them. And they all want strength, honor, wisdom, commitment. They want to be the person that you help people become, the man that you help people become. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you in the studio, is so that people could hear it directly from you. So what are some attributes of manhood that you would tell people to aspire to be in order to become a better man?
Man, that's a lot. I would say, number one, the first thing that came to my mind for whatever reason is just integrity, right? Integrity is in not lying, but then also not hiding what you believe to be true. And I think that's a big problem, is that a lot of men are scared to speak the truth. They're scared of, what's going to be thought of them. And so they'll kind of like go with the pack, sort of, right? Which to me is a feminine trait. And not that being feminine is bad, but if you're a man and you have feminine traits, that's called effeminacy, right? Now, whether you believe in evolution or, intelligent design or God or whatever it is, obviously men have been created to be the ones to, sort of have the controversial opinions and speak up and these sorts of things, because, we're strong and we can fight, right? Whereas what is more feminine would be agreeing with the herd, more likely to agree with the herd, for the sake of safety and acceptance with the pack, right? And what I think ends up happening is, because a lot of the things that you see nowadays are like, well, how come all these like liberal women are supporting all this BLM stuff and all this bad stuff? It's sort of in their biology, in my opinion, not all of them, but it's sort of ingrained in women to, sort of follow the herd as a survival mechanism. But I think as a man, no matter how controversial it is, no matter how, what the consequences are, I think you need to be honest and speak the truth about what you believe. I think that's incredibly important. So you have to be, you have to live in congruence with what your true beliefs are. And unfortunately, sometimes that leads to consequences, social consequences, stuff like that. And maybe you have to temper it a little bit so you don't get fired from your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But the more free you are in that regard, the more honest and open you can be, which is why I like working for myself, because I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. I mean, well, it allows you to stand for something instead of falling for anything.
Right.
And that's true manhood in my perspective. But yeah, okay, that's all good. We used to sit around on deployments and be like, what are traits of man? And strength, being able to fight, being able to make decisions. There was a whole laundry list that I pulled together, and everything that we put into that list didn't have a feminine string. Like, there is a feminine string to, like, I can care about you as a dude, and that's going to look different than if I care about you as a woman. Anyways.
Nothing wrong with hugging the homies, man, or kissing them goodnight,
Yeah. All All right. What does real preparation look like? Like preparation. How does a man become prepared in your perspective?
Okay, so a lot of people, when they hear that phrase, they're thinking like doomsday apocalypse scenario, stockpiling food and ammunition, stuff like that. I think it's smart to, to some degree have water purification stuff and cold weather gear and weapons and these sorts of things and training. But I also think you need to be prepared for just life's challenges, right? Like this could look like finances. Right? A lot of the times I hear guys say things like, they complain about not having money, complain about, being broke and struggling and stuff like this. And I'm like, man, you're a grown man, dude. You have a family to provide for. Figure it the hell out. And people all the time, they're like, well, the housing market and the economy and this and that. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Yes, things are harder than our parents had it. Sure, you can't buy a house on a $50,000 salary, whatever it is. But it doesn't matter. It is still your job to make that thing happen and overcome that adversity instead of just complaining about it.
Yeah.
And in 2026, you have a cell phone. You have access to essentially every single human on planet Earth, which means that you have the ability to start a side hustle and make money, do something, right? Anything other than just sitting there and complaining about the financial situation that you're in. And then also there's the preparedness from a self-defense aspect, right?
Yeah.
Being proficient with firearms, having the right kind of head on your shoulders, martial arts, those sorts of things. So it's pretty broad, I guess.
Yeah. What's the first thing you would advise for a younger you to look at for being prepared? Would you go strength? Would you go shooting? Would you go mixed martial arts? Like how would you, as a younger person, knowing what you know now, look at yourself as a younger person and say, start here?
Well, I wouldn't just go one route. Obviously, all those things are incredibly important. With my son, I'm trying to instill in him the roles of a man and chivalry and the concept that being strong is important and that you should be, watching out for mom and your sister and those sorts of things. And so, he's watching like movies about knights and stuff like that and kind of learning his role as a man. And so I really think it starts there with the mentality.
Yeah. Which movies have you got him watching?
Oh man, I don't know. There's a bunch of like knight movies on. There's one called Lancelot that's like the Camelot story, and it's like Richard Gere in like the early '90s or something.
That's a good one.
I like the movies before the 2000s when there was a little bit less propaganda, and it was a little bit more traditional.
I liked Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale's a good one, dude.
That's a good one. They put music into it. It has like a nice little theme, but it's not overdone.
There are companies that make books. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are some companies that they make books for kids, for more like conservative families to read to their kids to kind of instill those lessons in them.
That's cool.
And so I think that's important. It starts at a very young age with the mindset.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, my mom married my stepdad when I was like 10 years old. And prior to that, I had only been living with her and my sister for a number of years. And so there was a lot of estrogen in the house and not a lot of testosterone.
Sure.
When I got, when they got married and I moved in with my stepdad, he made me start martial arts. He made me, start doing yard work, like pulling weeds every weekend and stuff like that. And that instilled a lot of traits in me that benefited me throughout my life. And so, I had that responsibility. I had that like, hey, a man does this, a man opens the door, this is a man's role. And I had that example. From a combative's perspective, I would say, man, if you had to like only pick one thing, right? I honestly, know it sounds kind of funny to say, but I would say strength training. Because look, yes, technique is incredibly important in a fight. The reality is that most people don't have martial arts training. True. And there is a reason that there are weight classes in combat sports. So if you can make yourself a big, burly, scary dude, you're probably going to get in less fights. You might have an upper hand in fights and stuff like that. But also now you will like the way that you look and you'll kind of exude confidence, and that will benefit you in other aspects of life too. So maybe if you had to pick one, I would say like get your fitness in order, because it's also going to lend itself to all those other things.
Yeah. Yeah. People have a lot of problems until they have health problems, and they have one.
Exactly.
But I like the way you reframe that to where, as a growing up man, as a young man, if you show up ahead of other people, it usually ends up being a physical appearance. People don't make a lot of money. I think the average millionaire is 40 or 42 nowadays. So they don't make a lot of money in their 20s. But they can show up like like they've been working out and doing some good things. It's a good decision. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say too, like, I have a couple companies, like I'm pretty successful financially. I know for a fact I would not be where I am in that regard if it weren't for me building myself physically and the confidence that it's allowed me to build, and the way that people treat me, and just like the way how great I feel day to day. And it's so actually really hard to get that point across to people when it comes to fitness, because everyone's like, well, I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to, bench press 2 plates or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's a deeper reason there. There's like a deeper reason you want to be able to do that. And it can't be understated, like the ROI on building yourself up physically and the doors that it's going to open down the road. And I think it's tough because it's abstract to think about.
Yeah.
And you've been in whatever body you've been in for so long, and the world is just the way that it is, that you can't even comprehend what it's going to be like when you're like a big, jacked, scary dude, and just like how your life is going to change from that. And I was puny, dude, 165 pounds at 6'5". Like I post up, I'll send you my before and afters. You can put them in here. But the way that my life has changed, man, I would never go back, dude. It's crazy.
All right. I'm going to go off into a section I never talk about, but you pulled up in a Porsche. I've had a Porsche before, and the poor man's Porsche had a Boxster for a while, and I loved it.
Mid-engine.
I loved it. It's scooted around the road so freaking well, but it wasn't fast. Like I had a Vet for a while. That thing was lightning fast, but it didn't do anything around the corners. I mean, it was not versatile. What makes you a Porsche guy?
Man, there's just something about like a white 911 that is just like so cool to me. So I actually used to be a classic car guy. I've had a couple Chevelles.
Okay.
And I really loved them, but it was just, they were always unreliable, no matter how good I did them up. And it was like always at my mechanic shop more than at my house. And yeah, the Porsche just caught my eye, man. And it's so funny because I'm like a big dude and getting in this little Porsche. I was like, how do you fit in that thing? It's like, okay.
Once you're in it, you're in it.
Once you're in it, it's fine, right? Just standing next to it looks like a Matchbox car. I just love it, man. I don't drive like a maniac or anything like that, but it is cool knowing I can be wherever I want on the freeway at any given time. But a lot of it too, man, is that what I was telling you about, that identity kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like I buy the Porsche and two things happen. One, it's kind of like a reminder of the success, and it's also kind of a reward, because like when you're making a lot of money, at some point the numbers in the bank account are just like, cool, it's just another number, and it's like not that exciting to chase.
Yeah.
But every time I go out of the garage and turn that car on, I smile, and so it's totally worth it, right? The other thing is that burn the ships kind of thing.
Yeah.
So buying the 911 gave me just the smallest amount of like money anxiety, which then because I was getting kind of complacent with my companies, and it gave me enough anxiety to be like, oh man, I better start working really hard. Yeah. And then by virtue of that, I like made up for it and like kind of took the business to the next level.
That's it. It sounded like a turnkey operation.
Yeah.
But it's probably a push button.
It is a push button. It's a 25, man. I love it, dude. Yeah, I think it's super cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a Porsche guy.
It didn't switch you? I mean,
well, a lot of people that drive
another one again.
Yeah, they're cool. A lot of people that drive Porsches, it's like a very it's a culture. It's like a brand loyalty. They know everything about them. They know what the factory numbers are for this and that.
I guess.
Admittedly, I just thought it was cool and bought it.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and then mine ended up in the shop for like 5 months because people don't fix them quick.
Right.
If you've ever had that. So if you ever any maintenance, doesn't matter what it is, you get a loaner for like 2 months, then they call you and they're like. What was really cool about the experience was whenever I think they changed my oil. They sent me a video and they're like, this is this, and this is, we checked this. And I was like, that's really cool. That's like next
for
level.
a $3,000 oil change, you better,
that's
better get a video.
Level. Yeah. But I had something else done on it. I don't know. They were like, yeah, but I was pretty impressed. But I have a classic. I have a 68 Roadrunner, and the thing beats down the door. It makes the neighbors mad. And,
I just love the sound, dude.
It's so good. Yeah.
I don't like, because people are like, well, it's not even that fast. I'm like, dude, your mom's Honda Accord is faster than my Chevelle, but my Chevelle has a soul.
Yeah.
And like it smells like gasoline, and it grumbles and it sputters, and like that's what I love about that car.
What kind of engine did you have in it?
It was a 396.
You had a 396 in both of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a 383 as a Super Commando. It's the smallest V8 that they have. but it's so the body that I have it's a B body, so it's the same thing as like Dom's car in Fast and Furious.
Cool.
There's like 1,000 of them in the world now. So it's like a rare body style. The engine, I have another engine that I haven't finished. It's still on the other side of Phoenix. And I'll get around to it someday, but it's like, you got to pick things, what you're doing. You got to pick what you're doing. And this is what I've been building as this podcast. So, all right. Any wisdom you want to give to the audience? This is your time. And then I'm going to ask you all about your business, where we can find you and all that stuff. But, go back 20 years, 30 years, however far you want to go. If you could talk to yourself as a younger person, knowing what you know now, what would you tell that person 20, 30 years ago?
Oof, putting me on the spot, man.
I know, man. It's a tough question. I ask everybody.
Yeah, man. I would just say stick with it, man. I think a lot of people give up too early, especially with things like with anything, fitness, right? Business too. I see that all the time. So I'm actually part of a company that does business mentorship for people who want to run online like coaching type services. And what I see all the time is people get this great idea and they're going to start this business and they run into these roadblocks and they just throw it away. When if they would have just stuck it out for just a little bit longer, maybe they would have had that breakthrough, because it takes a long time, man.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 15 years. I mean, online for like 6 or 7, but to get to the point where it was like a comfortable living, it took a while. You got to figure stuff out. And if I would have given up on that stuff, or even if I would have given up on the fitness stuff, I wouldn't be where I am. And, you go through phases where things are going well, things are not going well. You really got to keep your eye on the prize, man. And just that stick to itness, I think, is the thing that really separates people. And then also, frankly, a little bit of risk taking. Sometimes you have to put some skin in the game to make something happen. And what I've realized is the people who are averse to that, they're very, very risk averse, which is fine if that's who you are. Then you're going to stay where you are your whole life. And if you're happy working a 9 to 5 and doing that whole thing, that's great. Some people are made to be employees. But if you want to, instead of exchanging time for money, become somebody who solves problems for money, and then the more problems you solve, the more money you make, that sounds more enticing to you, like not having another man tell you when you can eat your lunch. If you like that, then, you might have to spend some money on something or take some kind of leap. Yeah. Or do something and not be afraid. And there's a fine line between being reckless, right, and betting the farm, and taking a little bit of risk. But, when I first started moving things online, I hired a business mentor and I paid him a lot of money. I had to put on a credit card. If I wouldn't have done that, I would not be where I am today. And I have other friends that do, online fitness coaching type stuff. Yeah. And they have the money to invest in like some kind of mentorship with people who are legit, that can get them where they want to be. But they just never pull the trigger on it because they're like so just averse to seeing the numbers in their bank account go down that they won't take the risk, and then they'll just stay where they're at. Which, if that's you, then fine. But you gotta, what is it, risk it to get the biscuit, right? Like at some point you're gonna have to do something that's gonna be a little bit scary if you want to make something big happen. And I think everyone who is an entrepreneur who's made a lot of money or had a lot of success has had that moment. And yeah, maybe you're gonna crash and burn, but maybe you're not. And yeah, you got to be willing to try.
I like that. Risk and reward always matter, and how you do the equation is usually better done by somebody who's done the equation before. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of coaching, man. Huge fan of coaching.
Yeah, one of my assistant coaches coaches me. Yeah, even though I'm an expert at this stuff, right? Like it's huge.
That's the whole thing with. So I did this study in the War College over mentorship, and people miss that. What you just said, people miss that all the time. Like you can get knowledge anywhere. So mentor is a character in Homer's Odyssey. And, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like Homer comes home to his palace, and he looks around at people that are trying to like bed his wife and take over his kingdom because they think he's in war, or think he has died, and he comes in wearing rags.
Oh, right. Is that the one? And his dog recognized him?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then he steps into the role and basically takes charge. But one of the main characters in Homer's Odyssey is Mentor. And Mentor takes care of the kingdom before all this happens, teaching his kids how to be men, teaching the kingdom how to or helping the king do the things that the king does while he's at war. So it's like somebody that's at the peer level, and mentor is an older gentleman. So everyone always looks at mentorship as being a peer. You have to, what Maxwell says is you have to do the did before you can tell people how to do it. You know? So people will look at this pyramid of knowledge and they're like, I need somebody up here to tell me what to do. Bro, you just need somebody that's like one step above you, man.
Exactly.
That's it. Do one step. And then how did they get that step? And then you take that step, there'll be somebody else up there. But like once you get that one step and you start going in one direction, somebody else is moving in another. And you could look over on the same step and gain knowledge. People miss that all the time, man. I get so much knowledge from peer level mentoring that I think a lot of people just skip over because they're not looking. But I like what you said. You know, you got somebody in your circle that's helping you. Hell yeah, man. That's winning. That's the winner circle that no one knows about.
I'm big on networking just in general.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are missing a lot of opportunities because they're just not talking to enough people, reaching out to people.
So true.
I actually used to run this like 30-day challenge thing where you had to do, it was kind of like almost like 75 hard. There was like a workout component to it. And there was a, like you had to take a cold shower every morning. You had to like eat this certain diet and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, one of the things in there was you had to talk to a stranger every day. And I told guys, I said, hey, if you talk to 30 strangers this month, I guarantee you that one of those people is going to be somebody that's going to have some kind of opportunity for you, whether it's business or friendship or a job or anything.
Something.
Building your network. But because we're so isolated these days, especially after COVID and stuff like that, a lot of people just don't talk to each other. Right. And some of the greatest opportunities I've ever had, like this, I'm about to launch a focus and productivity supplement company with my business partner. And the whole reason that thing happened, huge opportunity, was because I just reached out to this guy and just started talking to him. And I thought he would never talk to me because he was like this big shot with all these millions of followers and stuff like that. And we hit it off. And now we've got this huge opportunity that's happening.
That's awesome. Well, your network really is your net worth. And that's just case positive right there. Proof and example. That's awesome.
Just talk to people, man. Maybe that would have been the advice I would have given myself. Just talk to more people. It doesn't matter. Like if I'm on the bench press at the gym and the guy next to me is benching, I'll talk to him about workout stuff. Maybe he's somebody that would be my next best friend or my next business partner, or maybe he owns a company I'd like to work for. You never know. Maybe more often than not, it wouldn't, but I met a lot of people that way.
That's legit, man. You got some good information. You got some great wisdom, my friend. All right. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so primarily Instagram, High Risk Fitness HQ.
And you have a website?
I don't, actually. I don't have a website.
Okay.
It's all Instagram, man.
It's all Instagram?
It's all Instagram, dude.
That's awesome.
I just feel like people don't go to websites that much anymore.
I don't know. So the only reason why I have a website is for SEO information, but I found that my YouTube channel is the second most searchable, thing that you can find. So my YouTube channel is owned by the number one search engine. So my YouTube channel's become the way people find me anymore.
I'm going to get on the YouTube train this year, man. That's my goal.
It's definitely it's something a lot of people sleep on. Plus you get paid more through YouTube per clicks and all that. So I have a website. It does help with SEO, but YouTube helps with SEO a lot more. So that's it. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to tell my audience?
No. I mean, if you want to become a human weapon, go to High Risk Fitness HQ on Instagram and hit me up, man. I'm a pretty easy guy to talk to. So I actually talk to almost like everybody that starts following me. I send them a message and I talk to them. Again, that networking thing, right? So always down to have a conversation. I'm not averse to giving any kind of free advice or anything like that. Again, just reach out.
Not a bot. Whenever you're reaching out and message, that's actually you.
It's me, dude. I don't have any assistance or anything like that.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, thank you so much, Randy, for coming in. To everyone else, thanks for tuning in and sharing with your friends. If you have something from this show that you know will benefit someone else, send it to them. There's a lot was covered here, and I'm sure you're going to be able to improve your network just based off of what we covered today. Until next time, I'm Atlas Aultman. Aim for excellence and stay on target. That's it.
Nice. That was fun, man.
Stay with us as we stay on target with another awesome episode coming up next. We'll see you there. And subscribe to Targeted Now. As an ambassador to buckedup.com, I get to give you our special discount. That's Atlas25 when you go to buckedup.com to get that special discount. Only for our listeners, Atlas25. Go to buckedup.com now. Entrepreneurs, you're wasting money. Are you paying for TV, radio, maybe even newspapers? I gotta tell you, that's all dead. What's new? Well, I'm glad you asked, Atlas. It's podcasting. Just so happens I have a very successful podcast that I can put you on. And we're looking for guests. So if you have a product or service that will help people, hit us up. Atlas Aultman Targeted Podcast. We bring new audiences to new people, and we bring new people to, well, you. Check us out.